Enzorecto, kalaban ang katiwalian at kasinungalingan, kakampi sa katotohanan at kabutihan.
Mga kongresista pinag-aaralan kung pwedeng imbestigahan ng NBI itong sinabi ni Digong na pabirong ipapapatay niya raw ang mga senador para palitan ng kanyang mga aliporis na tatakbo sa Senado. Anyway, hindi ito tatanggaping isang joke ng ibang tao, lalo na kung galing mismo ito sa dating presidente ng ating bansa, at ngayon, nanganganib itong si Digong na kasuhan ng grave trait tulad ng kanyang anak na si Sara. Kaya ang masasabi po namin dito kay Digong, yan! Joke pa more! Yan ang napapala ng isang taong dinadaan na lang sa biro ang lahat. Anyway, panoorin po natin itong balita.
Matapos irekomenda ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI na sampahan ng mga reklamong sedition at grave threats si Vice President Sara Duterte dahil sa naging pahayag nito laban kina Pangulong Bongbong Marcos Jr., First Lady Lisa Araneta Marcos at House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Isang kongresista ang nagbigay ng suhestyon sa NBI na silipin naman ang pahayag ng ama nitong si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte kamakailan. Sa proclamation rally para sa senatorial candidates ng PDP laban noong nakalipas na linggo, binitiwan ng dating presidente ang pahayag upang makapasok umano ang mga sinusuportahang kaalyado.
Marami kasi sila, ano dapat ang gawin natin? Di pat natin yung mga senador ngayon para mabakante. Kung makapay tayo ng mga 15 na senador, pasok na tayo lahat.
Ayon kay House Assistant Majority Leader Lanao del Sur 1st District Representative Sia Alonto Adjong, sa isang demokrasya may kapangyarihan ng mga salita, lalo na kung ito ay mula sa isang dating presidente ng bansa. Kaya kung ang mga partikular na pahayag ay nangangailangan anya ng legal na pagsusuri, mahalagang masiyasat ang mga kahalintulad na deklarasyon. Dagdag pa nito, kung bawal sa batas ang pagsabi ng bomb joke at may kaakibat na kaparusahan, lalo na dapat anya ang banta ng pagpatay ng 15 senador. Umani ng pagtuligsa sa iba pang kongresista ang pahayag ng dating presidente. Ayon kay House Assistant Minority Leader Gabriela Women's Party List Representative Arlene Brosas, lantaran na pagbabanta at karahasan ang sagot ng mga Duterte sa lumalaking panawagan ng mga mamamayan para sa hustisya at pananagutan. Giit naman ni House Assistant Majority Leader Taguig 2nd District Representative Pami Zamora, hindi kailanman magiging bahagi ng responsableng pamamahala ang pagbabanta ng pagpatay. Kailangang itakwil anya ang ganitong klase ng politika. Para naman kay House Assistant Majority Leader Digong Party List Representative Jude Asidre, inciting to sedition o grave threats ang pagbabanta sa mga opisyal ng gobyerno at hindi pwedeng baliwalain dahil banta ito sa seguridad. Pero para kay dating Chief Presidential Legal Counsel at spokesperson ng Duterte administration na si Attorney Salvador Panelo, nonsense ang pahayag ni Congressman Asidre. Giit nito, biro ang naging pahayag ng dating presidente. Dapat paanyang i-welcome ang pahayag ni dating Pangulong Duterte dahil maaaring pag-amin itong malakas at mahirap talunin ang administration senatorial candidates.
Opo, and sorry last na po Kong Sia, just a quick follow-up. You have a statement din po kahapon about, just to have it on record, can you just please elaborate your statement na NBI should look into former President Duterte's kill threat against senators?
Well, it's so disheartening, no, for public officials, especially those who have served as our president, to say these things, no, to threaten. I mean, say na mas madali lang sabihin na patayin na lang natin yung mga senadors. In the past, we've heard him threatening illegal pushers, drug syndicates, etc. Napatahin itong mga illegal drug lords, tsaka mga illegal pushers. But he mentioned that he made those threats in the context of the war against drugs to curb, to free our streets from the illegal drugs syndicate. But this time it was said in a context where he has candidates, and there are also candidates on the other side running for the same position. So medyo hindi siya para sa akin. It's really it should concern all of us, because hindi dapat man normalize yung salita na patayin, or even sa mga, if you go to mga airports naman, di ka naman talaga po pwedeng mag-bomb joke ng, yung bomb threat na jokes, kasi automatically you'll be, mapupusasan ka. How much more, for example, for say that out in the public. But it's the issue really, my point that I'm trying to drive at is, if you're an individual who enjoys or wills a certain influence, you have to be more circumspect about what you say, because people, your followers, may think na seryoso ka. That's why, pag sinasabi na joke, when will it end? We don't know which one is joke and which one is not. So I think we have to be more more circumspect about how we say things out in the public, especially if the occasion calls for a choosing of new leaders in the country. So yun yung aking position doon at pananaw, na hindi dapat agad-agad natin ma-normalize at ma-trivialize yung mga threat na dali-dalian mo lang sabihin, pumatay or patayin.
I've asked also Representative Defensor the same thing. Wasn't Duterte like that for 6 years? I mean, frankly speaking, Congress accepted it, that it was just his humor, right? That's what we heard for 6 years. That's how the president speaks. Tinanggap na yan. Bakit siniseryoso?
Well, during his administration of the past 6 years, Duterte made threats against drug pushers, alleged drug pushers and drug users, to kill them, no? So perhaps the people somehow accepted that because they have supported his war against illegal drugs, and they thought that the president was serious enough to even say publicly about his plans of eradicating illegal drugs. But this time, it's different, no? Altogether. We saw the president in the launching of their candidates, official candidates for senators, and the context by which it was said was actually perhaps to say that in order for their candidates to ensure victory, then perhaps the best way to do that is to kill 15 senators, which I don't think it's quite fitting to the old Duterte that we saw when he was president, throwing all these threats against illegal pushers and perhaps alleged drug lords. So magkaiba talaga siya.
Making a point that technically he and Vice President Sara Duterte speak the same way and it shouldn't be taken seriously, right?
Well,
isn't that the play here?
First of all, Karen, we have to draw the line. Tama nga, I was listening to your conversation with Congressman Lawrence Defensor. It has to stop. There's going to be a point in time where we can say enough is enough. Now, we do not even know which ones are jokes and which ones are serious and real. No? So, for a high official who somehow enjoys a certain degree of influence over substantial following number of people, the more that we should be careful about our words, no? Because these kind of rhetorics may lead to some real life consequences. And we've seen that during his time. People are actually applauding him when lifeless bodies scattered all over the streets. Nobody actually said anything against the president when the time the war on drugs was still at its peak. But this time, the president has, I don't know if it's a joke, but I didn't hear him in the same way that when he was talking anything about
so you think, let's say, killing the 15 senators para manalo yung mga senador niya, you don't think that was a joke?
I think it's somehow, perhaps it's somehow a proposition. In a way, it could be taken as somehow a joke in a way, but then again we ask ourselves, is it really something serious that the president can say during the proclamation of his the rally there,
but what case can you file against him. I mean, unlike Vice President Sara Duterte, she literally said she spoke with an assassin, right? So in other words, there's a perceived, it's not just intention. There was, it's like murder versus homicide, right?
Yeah.
There's an action taken. Right? You spoke with someone, pag namatay siya, patayin si ganon. Ito, ang tanong ng ilan, it is off the cuff, classic Duterte. I'm not tolerating it. I'm just balancing the conversation here. That this is how he's been for so long. And can you file a case over that?
Well, Karen, the first thing that I think we need to say that we need to accept as normal people is that rhetoric such as this should not be tolerated. It should be normal. It should not be normalized. And in the past, Ma'am Karen, we also saw, during his term, that people actually act on his so-called rhetorics, so-called jokes. Kaya sinasabi ko, in real-time situations, people who wield some form of influence, actually, people will actually lead to believing that, those kinds of jokes or statements are real and serious, so that they take matters into their own hands. And we've seen that, Karen. So the point is, I think we should not normalize that. I think it's high time that we say na hindi na talaga po pwede. We don't even know which ones are jokes and which ones are not. So I think it's for the NBI kasi we're talking about threats. First, the context is that there are other candidates, senators.
Kahit yung salitang pasabugin. If an ordinary person makes a bomb threat inside a plane, even as a joke, a case will be filed against that passenger.
Yeah, exactly. Hindi nga po pwede mag-joke pag nandun ka sa airport na may bomb threats, di ba? Kasi automatically, minsan yung plane makakancel, yung flight makakancel yan. How much more to saying that, the context kasi, Karen, there are other senators who are also running against their candidates. So if you put that into context, talagang masasabi mo na whether, even if names were not mentioned, but you have there a particular number that was actually cited, 15 senators, mga bomba. This is something that I think our law enforcement agency to look into kasi mahirap yung ganitong ino-normalize natin and we allow public officials to just go around and throw all these threats arbitrarily. So that's really the fear that it's really concerning, at least on my part, because something has to be done in order to make sure that high officials should hold themselves at higher ethical standard. Ika nga, I was listening to Congressman Noy Defensor. It's actually the very attack of the core of the ethical standards that we're talking here.
Bunyog, bunyog, halikan na kasama ka. Bunyog, kapag buklod ay may pag-asa. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, isa ang pananaw. Sa bagong Pilipinas ang bunyog isisigaw.